Of her motives for her every move, Mrs. Eddy said, "Obedience to God, even when I cannot understand, is to me the condition of my divine light and success. Hence I cannot question but obey the still small voice."
Sunday, January 26, was cold but clear. At 2 o'clock sharp, a 3-car chartered train backed onto the tracks at the Concord depot. The Pleasant View staff boarded, followed by Mrs. Eddy, who entered the first car. Within minutes, the train pulled out onto the southbound track of the Boston and Maine. Her departure from Pleasant View, a carefully guarded secret until now, was underway.
For some time, Mrs. Eddy had had thoughts about a return to Boston, perhaps moving back to her home of the 1880s on Commonwealth Avenue. In 1894, she wrote, "Perhaps I shall cleanse and refurnish that house for my winter home. I wait on God. I do not see my way clearly yet, what He would have me do."
Now she did. Preceded by a pilot engine clearing the track half a mile ahead, and with a second engine following behind as a rear guard, the train sped through the New Hampshire hills down toward the Massachusetts border.
In 1906, she had inquired whether property beside her Commonwealth Avenue townhouse could be purchased so a private carriage port could be created for her at the rear. In 1907, in approving construction of the new Publishing Society headquarters, she had wished it might be built nearer to that home. Then came the next friend's suit.
Traveling at 50 miles an hour, the train reached the mill town of Lowell, Massachusetts. Fresh engines were brought on for the next leg of the trip. What was the reason for Mrs. Eddy's move? On another occasion, she said she obeyed God's purpose before she knew the reason. There was a conspicuous need for her leadership among her followers, a need to be aroused from comfortable tranquility to confront and heal errors of mortal thought in themselves and the world.
She said, "I mourn over the ease of Christian scientists. They are not at ease in the pains of sense, but are at ease in its pleasures." She would write of the need to stir the dry bones all over the field to more actions and demonstrations in Christian Science.
Closer to Boston, she would take a more active role in that stirring up. North of the city, the train switched to the New York, New Haven, and Hartford tracks, and then to branch lines west of Boston, avoiding North Station downtown with the expected mob of reporters there. With the next friend's lawsuit decided, one of the church directors had quietly investigated properties near Boston and sent photographs for her to consider. A mansion in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, was the most nearly suitable, but it would need to be expanded to fit her household staff. As many as 300 men, stonemasons, ironworkers, carpenters, plasterers, painters, and paper hangers, had worked through the winter months, sometimes around the clock. An entire wing was added for staff quarters. A new entrance with a covered carriage port was added. Dark paneling in the hallways and rooms gave way to wallpapers and painted woodwork. Mrs. Eddy wished her own rooms to be like Pleasant View. The architect for the project came to Concord 3 times to consult with her and diagram the layout. He designed an octagonal tower so her study would have windows surrounding her desk like those she had so loved in Concord. By the last Sunday in January, the house was ready for its, as yet undisclosed, new occupant. At Chestnut Hill Station in the gathering dusk of the winter evening, the train pulled in. Her household staff piled into the waiting cabs and headed for the mansion about a half-mile away. Mrs. Eddy followed in her carriage. In that day, any move by Mary Baker Eddy was front-page news. Keeping her return to Boston secret had proved impossible. As her carriage pulled up to the front door, it was surrounded by reporters.
Mrs. Eddy called to her hefty groundskeeper, John Salkow. "Can you get me out of this, John?"
"Okay, Mother," he replied. Salkow pushed forward, swept her up in his arms, elbowed his way through the crowd into the vestibule, up the stairs and across the hall, and deposited her in a chair in her study. The little adventure left her laughing heartily.